Nigeria's most dramatic realignment since 2013. His name is Emeka. He is a local government ward executive in Enugu State, or he was until October 2025. He had held that position for 3 years under the PDP. He had canvassed his ward for the governorship election in 2023. He had run the voter education tables. He had spent his own money on jollof rice for party meetings when the state funding was slow to arrive. When Governor Mba announced he was leaving the PDP for the APC, his aide called Emeka the night before the public announcement, not to ask his opinion, to inform him that come Monday morning, they would all be wearing green. Emeka did not resign, he did not protest, he put on the APC shirt. He told me through a friend who knows him that he has a wife and 3 children, a generator he runs on diesel, and school fees due in September. He said, and I want you to hear this clearly, he said, "The party changed, but my problems did not." What is happening to Emeka, this specific experience of being a loyal political worker whose world is restructured overnight by a decision made above him without his input, is what is happening to tens of thousands of party officials, ward executives, and campaign workers across Nigeria right now. And the question I want you to sit with throughout this video is this: when the political map changes at the speed it has changed in Nigeria between 2023 and today, who decides and who pays the price for a decision they were never asked to make? Before we go deeper, if you're just finding NaijaNewsWatch, welcome. This channel exists to break down what's really happening in Nigerian politics, without the noise and without the spin. If that's the kind of analysis you enjoy, hit subscribe and stay with me, because this story is about to get a lot more interesting. Let me give you the verified timeline of the most dramatic political realignment Nigeria has seen since the APC was formed in 2013. In 2023, the People's Democratic Party won 11 governorships. That result was celebrated as evidence that Nigeria still had competitive multi-party democracy. Then the wave started. April 2025, Governor Sheriff Oborevori of Delta State left PDP for APC, taking his entire cabinet, state lawmakers, and local government executives. June 2025, Governor Umo Eno of Akwa Ibom followed. October 2025, Governor Peter Amba of Enugu, that is Emeka's governor, crossed over. The same month, Governor Due Diri of Bailasa resigned from PDP, took 23 state assembly members out with him, and formally joined the APC. November 2026, Governor Agbu Kefas of Taraba. December 2025, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara. December 29th to January 2nd, Plateau Governor Caleb Mutfwang resigned from PDP on December 29th and joined the APC on January 2nd. February 2026, Adamawa Governor Ahmadu Fintiri, whose state is the hometown of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, crossed into the APC, a move that was read as a signal directly aimed at weakening Atiku's home base. March 9th, 2026, the APC posted 2 numbers on its official X account, 31 by 36. 31 of Nigeria's 36 state governments now aligned to the ruling party. Then came the APC primaries in May 2026. The party conducted governorship primaries across 28 states. All sitting APC governors secured their second-term tickets through competitive primaries in some states, through consensus arrangements in others. Governor Alia of Benue won with 367,736 votes. Governor Oborevori of Delta won with 345,376 votes. Deputy Governor Hamzat of Lagos won with 657,917 votes. The machine did not just absorb these governors, it affirmed them, legitimized them, and locked them into the 2027 structure. The PDP is now left with 2 states, Oyo and Bauchi. The Labour Party holds Abia, APGA holds Anambra, Accord holds Osun, and the APC holds everything else. That is the map as it stands today, on the 18th of July 2026, 6 months before Nigeria votes for president. To understand what this map means for 2027, you need to understand the rules that govern both the defections and the election itself, because the law is where the map becomes a result. The constitutional gap on governor defections. Section 109 of Nigeria's constitution says a state assembly member who changes party loses their seat unless the party they came from has been affected by a split or merged with another party. A similar provision covers federal legislators in Section 68. But here is the gap that has been exploited relentlessly since April 2025. Neither section applies to governors. A sitting governor has no anti-defection clause binding them to the party that elected them. They were elected to run a state, not to represent a party platform. So when Governor Mba crossed from PDP to APC, he did not break any law. Emeka's ward, Emeka's years of work, Emeka's political identity, none of that had any legal protection against that decision. The 25% spread rule and what 31 governors means for it. Section 134 of Nigeria's constitution says a presidential candidate wins outright only by securing a majority of all votes cast, or at least 25% of votes in at least 24 of the 36 states and the FCT. Tinubu met this threshold in 2023 with 19 states behind him. With 31 governor-controlled state machines now aligned to the APC, the operational capacity to meet the 25% spread requirement has nearly doubled. Governors control state security councils, state-level patronage networks, and the party structures that deploy ward executives to polling units on election day. The spread requirement was designed to force presidential candidates to build national coalitions. With 31 governors, the APC's coalition is not built from opposition votes, it is inherited from defections. The Electoral Act 2026 and the IREV provision. The amended Electoral Act mandates that results sheets from polling units are uploaded to the INEC's IREV portal, a real improvement on the 2022 framework where the Supreme Court ruled that IREV data had no legal weight. But Section 60 subsection 3 of the new Act gives presiding officers discretion to switch to manual transmission if they declare a communication failure. That loophole exists across all 176,000 polling units. In states where the governor, the state assembly, the local government chairman, and the returning officer networks are all APC aligned, which is now true of 31 states, the operational environment for exploiting that loophole is structurally more favorable to the ruling party than it was in 2023. The AGL deregistration threat. The Attorney General of the Federation has an active court application to deregister 5 smaller parties, the ADC, Action Alliance, ZLP, Accord, and APP. If even one of these applications succeeds before the election season closes, it removes a legal platform from the opposition. The combination of governor defections concentrating state machines under one party, an electoral act with preserved loopholes, and a legal campaign to reduce the number of registered opposition parties. These are not separate stories, they are one story. And the African Arguments Journal, in a May 2026 analysis, used one phrase to describe it: Nigeria's road to undemocratic elections in 2027. Now, let us follow the money and the power, because nothing you have seen so far happened by accident, and the 2027 map did not draw itself. Layer 1. Why governors defect? The 5-part incentive structure. Business Day Nigeria, African Arguments, and the Nigerian Journal of Political Science have all documented the same set of motivations, verified through interviews with politicians and analysts. First, federal resource access. A state whose governor is in the ruling party gets faster approvals for federal road contracts, quicker release of UBEC and FEMA funds, and more cooperative behavior from federal agencies. A governor in the opposition waits. That waiting costs his constituents, and it costs him re-election credibility. Second, FEC exposure. Former politicians who leave office face heightened risk of anti-corruption investigations. The perception, documented in academic analysis, is that alignment with the ruling party provides political cover from FEC scrutiny. Former Delta Governor Ifeanyi Okowa was questioned by the FEC weeks before his successor crossed to APC,
African arguments cited that sequence explicitly. Third, electoral survival. Multiple defecting governors said openly they could not guarantee re-election under their opposition party banners. Governor Umo Eno of Akwa Ibom said his party was not performing as expected at the national level. Fourth, the PDP's internal collapse, with competing factions, disputed chairmanships, and a party unable to hold functional national conventions. Fifth, positioning for the post-2027 power settlement. Being inside the APC tent when power is distributed in a second Tinubu term is worth more than being outside it. Layer 2. The APC primaries confirmed the map. The defections were not temporary. Here's the detail that changes the analysis. When governors defect in Nigeria, political observers sometimes wait to see whether they will be absorbed or marginalized.
The May 2026 APC governorship primaries answered that question decisively. Governor Borevori of Delta, who defected in April 2025, won his APC governorship primary with 345,375 votes. Governor Mutfang of Plateau, who defected in January 2026, secured his second-term ticket. Governor Alia of Benue won with 367,786 votes. Governor Uno of Akwa Ibom emerged through consensus. The machine did not absorb these governors as junior partners, it affirmed them as flag bearers. That means the APC's 31-state map is not a temporary coalition of convenience, it is a locked-in electoral architecture for 2027. Layer 3. Pattern interrupt. This is Nigeria's most dramatic realignment since 2013, but the lesson runs in the opposite direction. In February 2013, the ACN, the CPC, the ANPP, and part of ABGA merged to form the APC. That was the largest voluntary merger in Nigerian history. It was driven by a shared belief that the PDP's dominance had to be broken. It was built from the outside against the ruling party, and it worked. The APC defeated the PDP in 2015. Now look at what is happening in 2026. Opposition forces are not merging to challenge the ruling party, they are being absorbed into the ruling party. The direction of movement is the exact opposite of 2013. In 2013, strength flowed toward the outside. In 2026, it flows toward the inside. The Cable wrote this plainly. Never has Nigeria witnessed the current spate of opportunistic defections. The Broom Party APC possesses no fewer than 31 of the 36 state governors. The Athena Center for Policy and Leadership went further in December 2025. Nigeria's multi-party system is entering a period of heightened vulnerability, with structural indicators pointing toward the gradual consolidation of de facto one-party predominance. Layer 4. What the holdouts tell us about the limits of the APC machine. Not every governor crossed. Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo refused. His infrastructure investments, cross-party goodwill, and personal political capital make defection more risky than beneficial. Governor Alex Otti of Abia stayed with Labour Party. His governance record on salary payments and investor confidence has earned him credibility beyond party lines. Governor Adeleke of Osun left PDP but joined Accord Party, not APC. Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi held Bauchi for PDP. These holdouts are not irrelevant. They are the proof that defection is a rational calculation, not an inevitability. A governor who performs well enough to generate local legitimacy independently of federal patronage can resist the pull. That is not a small observation. It is the entire prescription for how Nigeria gets out of this structural trap long-term. Layer 5. The silent players. Who facilitated this and why? Multiple political analysts and investigative journalists have pointed to FCT Minister Nyesom Wike as a primary facilitator of southern governor defections. Wike has personal relationships with every South-South and Southeast political figure built over decades in the PDP. He knows their financial histories, their personal vulnerabilities, and their political ambitions. The Guardian Nigeria and Punch have both cited unnamed APC officials saying that Wike's role in brokering discussions with hesitant
hesitant governors was central to the southern defection wave. Wike has neither confirmed nor denied this characterization, but the pattern is clear. Wike left the PDP in political circumstances that were publicly bitter, and the governors from the PDP bloc he was associated with have since followed. Whether that is coincidence or design, every analyst who covers Nigerian politics has an opinion. Now, if what I just laid out surprises you, drop a comment below. I want to know your take before we get to the part that changes the whole picture. Let me come back to Emeka. He put on the APC shirt. He still has his ward executive position. He still chairs his meetings. From the outside, nothing much has changed. But here is what has changed for Emeka and for every ordinary Nigerian who voted in 2023. The governor Emeka helped campaign for, the man who knocked on his door, sat at his table, asked for his ward's support, is now a candidate for a different party from the one that printed his name on the ballot. The local government chairman who was elected on a PDP platform is now attending APC meetings. Every layer of government above Emeka has changed its flag, but none of them asked Emeka. For businesses in Enugu, Delta and Akwa Ibom, the short-term picture has some visible positives. Federal infrastructure approvals that had stalled under opposition governors appear to be moving faster. Federal road contracts for the Enugu-Onitsha Expressway and others are being unlocked. This is a real effect that real people can see. But the Forum of State Chairmen of the PDP warned, and political scientists have written, that when 31 governors operate under the same party as the president, the horizontal accountability that comes from competitive government starts to break down. State legislators who are APC have diminished incentive to challenge federal policies that harm their constituents. Civil society remains active, but elections are the ultimate accountability tool, and elections require credible alternatives. Sam Amadi, director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, said it plainly. Democracy is not just about voting, it is about meaningful choice, and 31 states aligned to one party reduces the available choices at every level of governance. For Emeka, the diesel in his generator is still expensive, the school fees are still due in September. The party changed, his problems did not, and come January 2027, he will need to decide what to do with his ballot in a system that may not offer him the choice he thought he had in 2023. The international dimension of Nigeria's political realignment is documented and serious. African Arguments, the London-based journal that covers African politics in depth and is read by diplomats, development practitioners, and foreign policy institutions, published a formal analysis in May 2026 titled Nigeria's Road to Undemocratic Elections in 2027. The piece identified 3 structural threats: the APC's 31-state control, the governor defection pattern, and what it called the weaponization of the judiciary against opposition platforms. That framing, Undemocratic Elections, in an internationally indexed democratic analysis journal is not a small thing. It means Nigeria's 2027 election environment is now being discussed in the same analytical language used for elections in countries experiencing genuine democratic backsliding. The peer-reviewed journal Democratization published a paper in November 2025 titled Federated Autocracy and the Illusion of Multi-Party Democracy in Nigeria. The authors argued that both federal and state actors are manipulating constitutional mechanisms to entrench elite dominance while maintaining the ritual of elections. They cited the APC Senate representation growing from 59 seats in 2023 to between 73 and 88 seats by May 2026 as evidence of legislative consolidation that now gives the ruling party a near supermajority capable of passing any bill without opposition input. For Nigerian diaspora communities, the map change is deeply personal. Many diaspora Nigerians funded opposition campaigns in Delta, Enugu, and Akwa Ibom in 2023. They lobbied, they came home to vote. Now, the governors they helped elect are wearing APC colors and conducting APC primaries. The question for diaspora Nigerians heading into 2027 is not whether they should re-engage, it is whether they believe the opposition that remains can mount a credible challenge. And the answer to that question will shape how much money, energy, and organizational bandwidth the diaspora invests in the campaign season starting now. Let me steel man the APC's argument because it's not empty. The strongest case for the ruling party: this is politics, not democracy capture. APC National Publicity Secretary Felix Moka was explicit in December 2025. There is no such desire, let alone intent, to turn Nigeria into a one-party state. He argued that the APC's dominance stems from its victory in 2023 and from opposition parties failing to mount credible alternatives, and he cited the constitutional framework as a protection. Even if anyone in the APC wished for a one-party state, it is virtually impossible under the prevailing constitutional and legal framework. That's a substantive argument. Nigeria's constitution requires multiple parties, mandates free elections, and provides for anti-defection mechanisms for legislators. The constitution is still there, the courts are still functioning, and Moka's broader point that political parties gaining dominance through competitive politics is normal in democracies, not a crisis, has historical basis. The historical PDP comparison, This Day Live, and the political analysis firm 30 Cents both made a pointed observation. During Obasanjo's second term, between 2003 and 2007, the PDP controlled all Southeast and South-South states, most of the Southwest, the North Central, and parts of the Northeast and Northwest, with Lagos State as the only significant exception. Nigeria did not collapse into a one-party state during those years. Opposition survived. The APC eventually emerged from the fragments of that era. The historical precedent suggests that political map dominance by one party in Nigeria is not permanent and does not by itself end democracy. But here is where both arguments fall apart. The PDP comparison misses a critical difference. In 2003, the PDP controlled almost everything, but that was built on the PDP winning state elections. In 2025-2026, APC dominance is being built substantially on opposition governors switching parties after winning elections on opposition platforms. These are not the same thing.
One is the result of voters choosing the ruling party. The other is the result of elected officials choosing to change parties without consulting the voters who put them there. The democratic legitimacy of these two types of dominance is fundamentally different, and the APC's own argument that this represents free political movement sidesteps the core accountability question. When a governor changes his party affiliation, who authorized that change? The voters elected a PDP governor. They did not elect an APC governor. That is the gap the Constitution failed to close, and it is the gap through which this realignment has moved. The biggest misconception in the public debate, that the opposition is dead. It is not. The NDC under Obi Kwankwaso is building ward structures. The ADC under Atiku holds a significant Senate bloc. The PDP still controls Oyo and Bauchi, including one of the country's most outspoken opposition voices in Governor Bala Mohammed. The Labour Party holds Abia, APGA holds Anambra. 5 states outside the APC tent is not the same as no opposition. The 2015 election was won by an opposition that 2 years before the vote had no governors and no national structure. The map can change. Whether it will change in 6 months is a different question. Let me give you the 4 signals to watch between now and the election that will tell you whether the current map holds, shifts, or fractures. Signal 1. The Makinde and Bala Mohammed question. Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo and Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi are the 2 most important holdout opposition governors. If Makinde defects before July 2026, which is now, it sends a definitive psychological signal that no opposition governor can survive outside the APC tent, and the map consolidates further. If both men hold through the primary season and position their states as genuinely competitive 2027 battlegrounds, it proves the opposition retains anchor states. Watch them. Their decisions in the next 60 days will define the opposition's structural credibility. Signal 2. The Osun governorship election, August 2026. Governor Adeleke of Osun left the PDP in late 2025 and now contests as an Accord Party candidate. The Osun governorship election in August 2026 is the first major electoral test of whether a non-APC governor can win re-election in the current environment. If Adeleke wins, the lesson for other holdout governors is that local legitimacy can defeat federal patronage. If the APC wins Osun in August 2026, the map consolidates to 32 out of 36 states, and the remaining holdout governors face renewed existential pressure. Signal 3.
INEC's regulations for Section 63 of the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act mandates electronic transmission of results, but preserves a discretionary manual override for polling unit officers who declare a communication failure. INEC must issue implementing regulations that define what constitutes a valid communication failure, who verifies it, and what documentation is required. If those regulations are tight and specific, the loophole is operationally constrained. If they are vague, the loophole remains exploitable in exactly the states where APC-aligned networks are most concentrated. Watch for INEC's published operational guidelines. They are the most important technical document in Nigerian democracy between now and January 2027. Signal 4. Whether NDC-ADC opposition coordination materializes. The Ibadan Declaration of April 25, 2026 committed 14 opposition parties to a consensus candidate framework. That framework fractured within days when Obi and Kwankwaso moved to the NDC while Atiku stayed in the ADC. But Kwankwaso explicitly said NDC-ADC cooperation before the election is still possible. Watch for any joint statement, shared platform event, or candidate support arrangement between the NDC and ADC before September 2026. If the opposition's two largest formations agree on even a partial electoral coordination framework before filing, the APC's structural advantage is likely insurmountable. Best-case scenario for Nigerian democracy. Makinde holds. Adeleke wins Osun in August. INEC issues tight, specific Electoral Act regulations. The NDC and ADC reach a coordination framework. The opposition enters 2027 with anchor states, a legal platform, and coordinated candidate support. The election on January 16, 2027 is genuinely competitive, and whoever wins is seen to have earned it. Worst-case scenario. Makinde crosses by August. The APC wins Osun. INEC's regulations leave the Section 63 loophole undefined. NDC and ADC run separate presidential candidates. Voter apathy among opposition supporters peaks in October. On election day, the APC's 31-state machine produces a Tinubu victory with a larger margin than 2023, not because more Nigerians voted for him, but because fewer Nigerians believed their vote would change anything. Emeka puts on his APC shirt again. And Nigeria's democracy is measured not by how many parties exist on paper, but by how few real choices remain. Let me take you back to Emeka. He is still a ward executive. He is still in Enugu. He still has 3 children, a generator, and school fees due in September. He put on the green shirt when his governor told him to. He did not resign and he did not protest. I asked at the start of this video when the political map changes at the speed it has changed in Nigeria since 2013, who decides and who pays the price for a decision they were never asked to make? Here is my answer. The governors decided, the APC's National Working Committee decided, the federal patronage structure decided, and Emeka, like the millions of Nigerians whose ward, local government, state assembly, and state executive are now all the same color, paid the price. Not in money, in choice. The choice he thought he had in 2023 when he ran voter education tables for the party that won his state has been quietly removed by decisions made above him. This is not unique to Nigeria. Political scientists call it democratic backsliding when it is driven by autocrats. They call it party consolidation when it is driven by competitive politics. The uncomfortable truth about what is happening in Nigeria in 2026 is that it looks like both at the same time, depending on which layer you examine. The constitution is intact, the elections will be held, but the competitive landscape has narrowed in a way that the constitution's drafters did not fully anticipate and did not fully protect against. Nigeria has been here before. In 2003, the PDP controlled almost everything. By 2015, the APC had defeated it. The map can change, history says so. But history also says the map only changes when the people who wanted to change are more organized, more disciplined, and more willing to show up on election day than the people who wanted to stay the same. Whether Emeka shows up and what he does when he gets there is still an open question. It's the most important open question in Nigerian politics right now. What do you think? Is the current realignment genuinely Nigeria's most dangerous political moment since 2013? Or is this just the usual cycle of party dominance that Nigerian democracy has always corrected? Drop your take in the comments. I read every single one. If this breakdown gave you clarity on what's really going on, do me a favor, share it with one person who needs to understand this. Like the video, subscribe to NaijaNewsWatch, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp.